Okay, let's get started. All right, well, welcome everybody. My name's Steve Hollenhorst and I'm the Dean of the Huxley College of the Environment here at Western Washington University, and welcome to the Huxley College new student, and I think parent, there's probably a few parents out there too, webinar. I've been the Dean here for about 8 years, and before that, a few years before that, I was sitting in a face-to-face version of this webinar with my daughter, Kaylee, because I'm the parent of a Huxley alum. She ended up coming to Western and ended up being a Huxley major, and her senior year, she sent me the job announcement for this job. We were living in Idaho back then, and I was working at the University of Idaho, and it was a good place and a good experience for Kaylee and our family, and I thought I could work at a place like that, so here I am. And for you parents that are with us today, you'll be happy to know that there's a career light at the end of the academic tunnel. Kaylee got her master's degree after she graduated from Western, now works for Seattle City Light as an energy conservation planner and analyst, and it's worked out pretty well. So that's my story. And we're all glad that you're with us today. We got about 80 people registered for this call. I think it's been shared with maybe some parents and things too. So, so we'll tell you a little bit how we'll manage that in a minute. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to a few other folks. First is Ingrid Patrick, whose name you probably see there. Ingrid is the admin assistant here in the Dean's office, and she also runs our scholarship program. So Ingrid, would you like to say hello?
Well, hello everybody. It's nice to see you. I'm so happy that you are here and joining us for our live webinar. And I am basically here to make everything as easy and smooth as possible. I work here in the Dean's office, and our admissions and enrolled students, pardon me, work with our advisors here in the office, and so I'm just here to make sure that everything in the background runs smoothly for them. And I'm also the scholarship administrator, and so I am a member of the scholarship committee here on campus, and we are, pardon me, we are working currently on our enrolled student scholarships and deciding which students will be receiving those, and we also have some new admission scholarships. This will be the second year that we are running them, and they are for incoming freshmen and transfer students. And some of you probably received invitations with regard to that, and Steve will chat a little bit more about what we might be doing with those scholarships this year in light of what has been going on in our community. So yeah, if you have any questions, please send an email. The easiest one is huxley@wwu.edu. I'd be more than happy to help you out with anything that you need. Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Ingrid. And the other person is Kathy Patrick, and she's with us, and Kathy is our Huxley admissions advisor. And if you end up being a Huxley major, you'll get to know Kathy pretty well. So Kathy, would you like to say hello in a few words?
Well, first of all, I'm Ingrid's younger sister, and actually this is where she jumps in and says no relation whatsoever. It's just a coincidence, and I suppose she's telling the truth. I have been at Huxley for about 13 years now. I've been on campus 20 years, and I love it. I wouldn't work any other place. I see my job as helping every student get into Huxley in the most efficient way possible. I hope that during your time here, I will be one of the many people keeping you on track. And I'm a problem solver, so I like puzzles too. So anytime you feel like you need to talk to me, you can talk to me. And I'm a pretty good resource for you. Over the next few years, as you prepare to come into Huxley College, we'll be talking about lots of things, including how your transfer classes may transfer to Western, may want to talk about scholarships or resumes, you name it. if I don't know the answer, I know who to ask. So thank you. Thank you very much for coming today. Steve, take it away.
Great, thanks. All right, so here's the way we're going to run things because we got so many people on the call. I'm going to start by just kind of giving a short presentation about Huxley. That'll last 15 or 20 minutes or so, and we're going to leave lots of time for a question and discussion. With that said, if you have a burning question while I'm talking, just wave your hand. I probably won't see it, but Ingrid might, or write it in the chat box, or say that you have a question in the chat box, and Ingrid will interrupt me, and we'll answer it before we move on. If it can wait, once we're done, we'll just open it up and queue up questions and discussion accordingly. We're going to keep everybody's mic muted just so that we have them all off, so we don't get a bunch of feedback, and keep things so folks can hear. But when you want to talk, just let us know, and well, while we're talking, we'll leave it on while you have until you have your question answered, and then we'll move on to the next person. Okay, so should we get started? I'll share my screen here. So you should be able to see my presentation there and me talking. Does that look about right to everybody? You can see the slideshow thing saying preparing the next generation of environmental leaders and problem solvers. Okay, all right, great. This is actually a photo of our graduation celebration every year, where we give a Western red cedar tree to every graduate who leaves. That's a long tradition that we have in the college, and unfortunately this year it's going to be happening a little different, and we're trying to figure out what that'll be like. So Huxley is the oldest environmental college in the world, which is a pretty amazing thing. And back in 1970, something happened here in the Pacific Northwest where a group of folks here decided that there was a need and there was a time for creating this new approach to higher education. And it all sort of centered around this idea of the environment. Up until that time, environmental problems were growing and becoming more complex, but the problem was that these were consummately interdisciplinary problems, and you can't solve them just from one angle. It's not just a toxicology problem. It's not just a biologic or ecologic problem. It also is an economic problem and a policy problem. So there was this sort of emerging awareness here at Huxley that we needed to approach this differently, and that somehow we had to create the kinds of organization where we could get people to sort of crash into each other from all these different disciplines in order to wrestle with these growing sets of environmental problems that we faced. So you see this little saying here: every problem interacts with other problems and is therefore part of a set of interrelated problems, a system of problems. I choose to call such a system a mess. And that's what we had in 1970, is we had a mess that had to be dealt with in a different way. And that's where this notion of transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary environmental college came from. Since that time, there's now about close to 2,000 environmental programs at American universities, so you have a lot of choices. But in those first years, there weren't very many at all, and students came from all over the United States and internationally to Huxley to be environmental majors. But we know that there's a lot of programs out there, and that we have a lot of competition, and we're proud of this history, but we also know that we need to continually be innovative and get better and be on our game if we want to be competitive with those programs. So next slide. So you should see a tree there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unshare my screen and in a minute and try to get into another document and show this to you in more detail. But what this is a Western red cedar tree, and we made it, it's actually a banner that's about 8 feet by 40 feet long or something like that. And it hangs in the atrium of our environmental studies building. And it sort of commemorates 50 years of graduates from the Huxley College of the Environment. So I want to show this to you with a little more detail now. Share a different screen. Share this with you. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Unshare. Hang with me. That's the one. Okay, Ingrid, can you see that?
It's going to take a minute to populate, but it should pop up in just a second.
Okay. Can you see it?
Not yet. That's odd. It worked this morning.
Okay, try again. One more time.
That's it.
There it is. So there we're looking at the roots of the tree first. And the roots of the college actually go all the way back to 1926 and a graduate named Muriel Hegg. She was a geography major, first geography graduate of Western, and she went on to become a geography teacher in the public schools in Sedro-Woolley for her entire career. Actually, she ended up coming back 40 years later and got a master's degree in 1966. But the college was founded in 1970 and the first graduate was in 1971. And at first those classes were really small. But over time the classes got bigger and bigger and the majors got more diverse over time, and culminating with the last graduating class last year. Those are about 7,800 majors in that time. So that's what, that's kind of the legacy you'll be joining if you become a Huxley major here at Western. Okay, so I'm gonna unshare that and go back to my presentation. Okay, are we back at it and looking at the mission and vision?
Sure are.
All right, great. All right, so the mission of the college, as I said before, is to prepare the world's next generation of interdisciplinary environmental problem solvers. And that requires a sort of a system approach, and it involves an amazingly broad set of environmental education programs, involves a faculty who work in each of those different programs, and it involves reaching out into our communities where you'll have an opportunity to do research and get involved in professional and community service in those communities, all right? What we try to do is the vision is to sort of integrate that all together. So you're getting not only the sort of classroom experience, but also kind of this real world experience too, that gives you sort of a taste for how you'll be doing that work once you get out there and are working as a professional. So the college is named after T.H. Huxley, Thomas Henry Huxley, and he's known as Darwin's bulldog. He was kind of like Darwin's sort of public relations guy. He spoke for Darwin. Darwin wasn't a public speaker for the most part. And he has a famous saying that's kind of like our motto here in the college: learn what is true to do what is right. So in terms of degree programs, what we do is we kind of divide the college into like two sets or two overlapping kind of Venn circles, right? One side of that is the biophysical sciences, and that's environmental science. And we have a set of Bachelor of Science degrees that fit in that biophysical set in the Department of Environmental Science. The degree is a BS in environmental science, but there are emphases in that degree. For instance, in terrestrial and freshwater ecology, we've had toxicology emphasis from the very earliest days of the college. Or if you see yourself more general than that, you can be a more general environmental science major. We also have a BS in energy science. That's fairly new and a fast-growing degree, and a Bachelor of Science in marine science that will be new next year. Now, if you're interested in marine science, we do have marine science emphases currently in the Department of Environmental Science and in the biology department, but by the time you graduated, this would be a standalone Bachelor of Science degree in marine science. Now, the other half of the college is the social science side. This is the human dimensions side of the environment. And we have a Bachelor of Arts degree there in several different areas: general environmental studies, or you can be more focused in things like environmental education, environmental policy, geography, urban planning and sustainable development, my daughter's degree. We also have a policy version of the energy bachelor's degree. And by the way, we do those in collaboration with the College of Science and the College of Business and Economics. And there are BA degrees in business and sustainability and environmental journalism. The environmental journalism degree has been around for a while, but it got kind of put on hiatus after the last recession. We've revived it, and the business and sustainability degree is pretty new, and that's for students who want to work in like as environmental officers for companies and work on their sustainability programs. Okay. Beyond that, we have several combined majors that we do in partnership with other colleges at Western. You could pursue a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Environmental Studies, in Geography, Social Studies, and Geography and Social Studies, or Environmental Studies and Elementary Education. If you're interested in being a geography teacher in public schools, K-12 schools, you could also get a kind of a combined major in geography and elementary ed. We also have a lot of minors. I'll let you kind of look down through that list, but these are for students who you will have an interest in this area, but your mainline interest lies somewhere else, and we totally get that. You might be a major in another college, you might be a major in another degree in this college, but you also want this bit of background in what you do. So for instance, we get a lot of students who will be a major elsewhere in the university or say in environmental science, but they're also interested in GIS, Geographic Information Sciences. So they get a minor or a certificate in that program in order to have that additional set of skills in their background. We also have a couple certificates then too, one in GIS and another one in river studies and leadership. So these are some ways to kind of fill out your sort of your program of study so that you can use this to complement either another Huxley degree or a degree that you're doing elsewhere. We also have a program here at Huxley out on what we call the peninsulas, which is both the Kitsap and the Olympic Peninsula. And we have sort of pared down versions of both our environmental studies and environmental science degrees out there that if you want to stay home or closer to home, you could do a Huxley degree from there. So we get a lot of students from Everett, from the Port Angeles area, from the Poulsbo area, who actually go to college from there. And this is more common with sort of non-traditional students, maybe who've been out of high school for a while, maybe got a job, maybe have a family, and coming to Bellingham just isn't in the cards for them. So this is what we do. However, this program is becoming more and more popular for students who just want to stay closer to home for other reasons. And so we're seeing more traditional students start to pursue their Huxley degree this way. Because years ago, you'll be thinking about this kind of thing. We actually have several graduate programs in Huxley, both in environmental science and environmental studies, and a long-standing program in marine and estuarine sciences. something down in the future for you to think about. There are over 200 courses in the college, and what I did is just built a word cloud here that just sort of shows some themes and the types of courses that you would be involved in. And you can see that it's wide ranging, all the way from policy to energy science. There's courses about fish and the Salish Sea, and there's a lot of focus on writing and applied projects. So if you want to dig deeper into that and know kind of what's in your future for those kinds of courses, just look at the catalog for environmental studies and environmental science, and you can see the list of all those things. And when you do that, don't forget energy studies, which is listed separately. We partner with other colleges in doing that, and business and sustainability for those classes too. Almost done. There are some affiliated programs that we have here in the college, and we do our best to get undergrad students connected with these different programs so that you have a chance to do research or projects that complement your coursework. And you can see a list of some of those: the Institute for Energy Studies, our Shannon Point Marine Center, which is located in Anacortes, the opportunity to study with and do research with folks there, the Resilience Institute, the Spatial Institute, the Institute for Environmental Toxicology, Watershed Studies, which is our long-standing program with the city of Bellingham, where we monitor the water quality in Lake Whatcom, the water supply for Bellingham and the surrounding metro area, and the Salish Sea Institute, and our own community forest up at Canyon Lake Creek, about 45 minutes, half hour out of town or so. You maybe have heard about The Planet. You can look at it online. This is our award-winning student magazine. Lots of students get involved in The Planet, whether they're journalism, environmental journalism majors or not. They've opened it up more broadly the last year to allow more articles by more students and more alums, and those are all posted online in addition to the print version. So The Planet's a real cool thing, been around as long as the college has, and we'd really encourage you, if you come here and are interested in writing or photojournalism or media, to get involved. And then a few things to maybe brag about a little bit. And as you're making your final decision about what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what you're going to study, whether it's if you are at Western and what you're going to study, here are just, I think, a few things about Western and about our environmental orientation here at Huxley that kind of make it a pretty special place for students with an environmental/outdoor interest. So you can see kind of our rankings relative to other schools around various things. But maybe the thing I'm most proud of is we were first, right? We were the place that this idea all started, and we're still trying to be like that today. Employment. I almost didn't put this in there because I don't think this is what this class is going to be seeing. This class that's graduating right now, I think, with the COVID coronavirus crisis that we have going on right now, that the unemployment rates for all students leaving the university in the next year or two is going to be pretty rough. But this is what was happening. And that what I was saying before about academic or career light at the end of the academic tunnel was really good for Huxley students, and I expect it will be again. And these are the kinds of things where we saw our students do after they left. What I expect will happen here is that the grad school and volunteer components will go way up for the next few years. But by the time you graduate, I would hope we see figures more like this again. That median salary there, I would say, I mean, it's a fair number, it's a median salary, but that is probably high because it's kind of influenced by one group of our students who tend to make outsized salaries compared to our other majors, and that's our GIS students. And when they go to work for Google or one of the spatial companies in Amazon, something like that in Seattle, they're making super high salaries. So that tends to pull that number higher for everybody. Ingrid mentioned scholarships, and we give out about $70,000 in scholarships a year in Huxley to various majors. And one group that we've really stressed in recent years are access scholarships for incoming students. And you should have received material on this, but we understand that with everything that's going on, this maybe you maybe missed that, but we do have these access scholarships for incoming students. These are multi-year scholarships, several thousand up towards of $4,000 a year. Could be for 4 years for freshmen, 2 years for transfer students. So what we're gonna do is find a way to, if you didn't see this and you still would like to apply for an incoming scholarship, we're gonna open that door for a few days. So stay in contact with Ingrid about that, and we'll see if we can make it possible for you to get your application in. I know you can't see this, but you will be able to click these links in the PowerPoint afterwards. This is just some of the press that Huxley has gotten in recent years, different things our faculty and our students are doing. I put it here because by scrolling through that and reading some of these articles, you might see how you fit. It's kind of the idea, and what your interests are, and who some people might be that kind of fit with those interests. So I put it in there so you could just kind of start to make those connections. So that's the end of my talk. And with that, boy, we have a good bit of time for questions. So I'm gonna stop sharing at this point. Bring that back over here. And Ingrid, I'll leave it up to you to open up people's mics so they can ask questions or make comments.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions that came in via chat, and I just changed the settings so you can unmute yourself. So when I call your name, if you would like to ask Steve your question, that would be great. The first one that I saw that I wasn't able to speak to directly was from Elizabeth B. Are you still with us?
Yeah, hi, I'm here.
Hi. Did you want to ask Steve your question?
Yeah, so just, yeah, that might be a good idea. So I was just wondering if you have any kind of favorite examples of positive impacts that Huxley students have had on the environment.
Oh gosh, I got a million. Well, I'll start close to home. So I'm pretty proud of my daughter, work she's doing at Seattle City Light, where she's helping the city of Seattle transition from fossil fuel-based energy to clean electricity. And the big areas there are the heating and cooling of our buildings, which are pretty natural gas dependent, and the fleet of vehicles, all the cars and trucks that cruise around Seattle and are almost all fossil fuel dependent. And with the leadership of the city council and the mayor, the goal is to convert all that stuff to clean electricity. But if you think about that, that is a huge planning challenge. The charging infrastructure we need, the conversions and retrofitting that has to happen in all our buildings, in the existing building stock, how we're going to build future buildings. Folks like Kaylee, other graduates also from Huxley who work at Seattle City Light, they're kind of leading the charge on that for the nation. And that's how we get free of fossil fuels. That's how we solve this climate change crisis. And then I think of someone like Jenny Han, who was one of the first graduates of Huxley back in the 70s, but she's actually back doing a master's degree now here at Western. And she's a sea kayak guide in Alaska. And for years has written books about seaweed and seafood and sort of the food that you can get from the Salish Sea. And what she's doing now in her graduate studies is she's looking at the toxicity in some of those seaweeds and other shellfish and that kind of thing, and whether all of this promotion she has done for people to get back to a better diet that involves wild caught foods from the ocean, seaweed in particular, whether or not it's really safe or not, and if there is some risk, where good places to harvest those seaweeds from, and maybe not so good places where they are. So that's the kind of thing I see with our students. The students we have people who have been all the way from the executive director of the Bonneville Power Administration to folks who are environmental educators in their hometowns working with little kids. So it's kind of all across the board, and I'm pretty proud of all of them.
I always call this my brag point, or I just love going to presentations I do all over the campus, all over the state, where I talk about what Huxley graduates have done. And one of my favorite ones to brag about is that a Huxley graduate was actually the first person to begin using Karelian bear dogs to help track bears for the Department of Natural Resources here in Washington State. And those dogs are still being used today, although I think Rocky's first dog just recently passed away. That's an amazing thing, and it's very innovative. And you know, part of what Huxley's students, graduates do, they're very, very innovative. They're very creative. Another one, a student that I worked with, now a graduate, joined the Peace Corps, and she went into marine sciences. And she didn't think she'd be doing this, but she wound up putting some boots on and helping design and build piggeries that were far, far away from the edge of the beach where they had traditionally been built. And so that's helping in Fiji quite a bit to clean up the reefs around the islands of Fiji. We've got some graduates who still work internationally. I could go on and on and on. One thing you can do is to look at the Planet magazine, which is available online. And many of those stories are around Huxley graduates, and it's just fascinating what they wind up doing.
We have a slew of questions coming in, so let's get to the rest of them. We have a question from a room here on campus, so I'm assuming I have a faculty member here that's wondering if Western undergraduate exchange program students are eligible for our scholarships, and I don't know the answer to that. Steve, do you?
Well, I think you're eligible, but because you got a WWU, your FAFSA probably, you probably don't qualify for as much need-based scholarship money. So I would still put in a FAFSA and still apply.
Perfect.
Just to know for sure.
And I have a question from Kelsey Webb. Did you want to ask your question, or would you like me to do it? Oh, she just rejoined the meeting. Kelsey, are you there?
I can see her question. If Kelsey, you want me to read it, or are you there?
I'm here now.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so I was wondering, if the campus is still closed in the fall, will the Peninsula's program be an alternative option to get the degree?
You could still be in the regular program because everything will be online, right? So you could be normal. Everything we do is going to be online in the fall. What I'm starting to see happen at universities, and it's been led by the big schools first and the Ivy League schools, is they're starting to announce what their falls are going to look like. So you might have all saw in the news yesterday that Harvard said they're going to be open in the fall. That's their big leading line, right? The second line is it's all going to be online.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And so there probably are going to be some students that go back to campuses. Some people, that's just the best alternative for them. They got a job in town, for whatever reason, they're going to be on campus. And I see the university making a way for that to happen. And to the extent that all the governors sort of, what do you call them? Non-pharmaceutical intervention rules around the COVID virus, to the extent that they allow, we will probably try to do some of those kinds of things on campus too. Masks, social distancing, big lecture classes online, spacing in cafeterias, spacing in small classes. I see a mix of those things happening. And you know what? I think that's the way it's going to be all over the country.
Sounds good.
We have a question from May Riley for Kathy. May, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Would you like to ask Kathy your question?
Oh, sure. I'm a transfer student. How do I or when do I apply to the Huxley College?
Well, because you're a transfer student, you're going to want to talk to me probably pretty early. We can even talk sometime this week or next week, anytime you want to. You're going to come in with classes that will count as two things. They'll count as your general university requirements, but they may also qualify as preparatory classes for either environmental science or environmental studies. We can look at those, we can determine how they fit into your studies. If they're from out of state, it may take another step or two. So be sure, everybody, if you're coming from out of state, that you hang on to your syllabi for your classes. If it's a writing class, hang on to any writing you may have done, because we may have to look at that to determine how to use it best in Huxley, but also for your general university credits. Does that answer your question, May?
Yeah, thank you. I'll email you later.
Wonderful, thank you.
Ingrid, I'm gonna go back a little bit because I see a couple other cool questions too, and then we'll catch up with others. So Karsten asked about how we incorporate environmental justice into the curriculum, and I think that's worth talking about. So there are two huge things going on in environmental programs and environmental conversation right now. Of course, one of those is climate change and what we're gonna do to solve this environmental, this worldwide environmental crisis that is climate change, right? But the second question that's sort of at the forefront of environmental programs all over the country is how do we make that work be more equitable, fair, and just, right? And it's a sort of a recognition that the discourse we used, the problems we looked at, the landscapes we looked at, the people that we served in the past was not as broad and as inclusive as it should have been. And so in the last few years, we've worked on this really hard here. You'll see it in our strategic plan. You'll see that we have a separate diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. You'll see 3 committees that are dedicated to this, 2 in the departments, 1 at the college level that are working on this all the time. In terms of our classes, we have some individual classes that focus on environmental justice and social justice, but we also have more and more classes where those are themes that are knit across classes. So there might be a toxicology class that's all about chemistry, right? But they're talking about environmental justice in there too, because we know that toxicology and contamination problems unfairly fall on some communities compared to others, right? So that's kind of the way we tend to be handling it. And I see more and more of that in the coming years. Karsten, does that answer your question, or you got more there that you want me to talk about?
That's great. Thank you.
Sure. And then that Jennifer asked, and we kind of addressed it, are scholarships still available? And like we said, those entry scholarships was closed, but we'll find a way to open that window for you for a few days if you think those access scholarships are some things you qualify for. Ingrid, I'll turn it back over to you then.
All right. Marie Langer has a question about majors. Marie, are you still here?
Yep.
Would you like me to ask it for you, or would you like to ask it?
I mean, I kind of wrote what I was asking, but I was just wondering, like, because I'm interested in Huxley, but I'm interested in several majors. I was wondering how accessible it would be to like switch from one major to another, year or two or even 3, and if there's like a core curriculum that all of them cover, and then you kind of specify which major you want, whether you're kind of like, you start with the major and just follow that route.
What's your name, Marie?
Yeah.
Marie, what year are you? Are you incoming first year?
Incoming freshman, yes.
You know what? You have a lot of time. you can check it out. You can try different things. You don't have to be a major right away. And in fact, if you're unsure about things, you should take your time, I think, and really see what's out there and see what finally connects with you and what your interests are going to be once you're kind of here or wherever you end up going and are working through that. But I would say this. Talk with Kathy every step of the way, because when you take some of those other classes and you're kind of exploring, she can help you see how those classes kind of could fit into things at the end, so they help you toward graduation. And I'm not saying that we want you to take different classes. She can help you make it all come together at the end.
And you know what? For the environmental studies program especially, some students will start out as just an environmental studies degree major. And the environmental studies degree major is very broad. It incorporates elements of all the other disciplines into that one degree. And then some people will find, oh, I really love geography, and they'll switch over to geography. Or they'll find they really love the business aspect and move over to the business sustainability major. So among the Bachelor of Arts degrees, it's very easy to switch around. Now, if you're going from environmental studies to the science degrees, it can be a little more difficult because the preparation for science includes a year of biology, chemistry, math, and physics. But still, people do it, and they do it quite successfully. So it's really all up to you. At this point, though, as incoming freshmen, Steve's absolutely right. You can take your time, you can explore, you can talk to people. And one of the best things you can do is to jump on our website and look at the professors' individual websites for what classes they teach and the types of research that they've done. You'll also often see their labs listed there, and you'll want to see what they're doing in their labs as well.
There's kind of a related question from
Skyan.
Where is it?
It's right below it. Skyan, are you still here?
Oh yeah, applying as a freshman, right? That question?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As a first year student, you would be a pre-major. That's the way we look at it. And there are like lots of prereq classes that you have to take in those first few years. And after finishing those prerequisites, and they're different for the different majors, then you become a Huxley major after you apply to be a major and become a major. So no, you're not behind. There is a pre-major form to fill out, I believe, Kathy, right?
Yes, and we do that online. You all won't be able to do that quite yet. Your first chance we'll do it to do it will be when you come, or this year when you don't come, when you stay at home in the comfort of your own chair. We'll talk about what classes to take, but also that will be your chance to declare as a pre-major. Now, I saw another question there that's very related from Cameron, who's asking, is declaring a pre-major required at Huxley? No, it's not. You do not have to be a pre-major. There are just some perks to it. The biggest perk is that being a pre-major will open up classes at the 300 level for you. So in that way, it can be possible for me to help you take Huxley major classes while you're finishing your prep classes. So it helps you be a little more efficient. We'll also give you a faculty advisor, but it makes me your permanent advisor, and you'll be stuck with me for a little while, but not forever. And then finally, I put your email on a listserv, and you get a lot of emails from me. A student counted one year and it was over 1,200 emails. So look out. These emails are pretty interesting. They can be about jobs, internships, scholarships, and special events, or just one-time opportunities that you want to do. And don't worry, you can delete emails from me. I'll never know. So that's fine. But I think they're pretty good perks. And plus you want to hook in with us and make sure we all know your name. We're thinking about you when these ideas, these chances come up. But no, you do not have to declare as a pre-major.
There's a question here from Emma about the Marine Science Scholars Program. For those of you who haven't seen this, this is a program for incoming new students who spend a couple weeks at our Shannon Point Marine Center before school starts to kind of get them into the whole field and get to know other students. It's kind of like a freshman orientation program in some ways. With each other and with the faculty who teach in that program throughout their 4 years. I've heard that program is going to happen. The question is it going to be face-to-face? If you could, let's keep track of this and let's find an answer for Emma and others about that to see how that program is going to work.
I have it down here in my notes. I will look into that.
All right. Then.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Okay. Am I back now?
You are.
Okay, John's question about deferring and
I want to ask
scholarships.
a question, but there's over 46 people and we have 10 minutes left and there's like a bajillion questions.
As far as the questions go, we will answer all of the questions that are here, whether it is via email or later on when this gets recorded, closed captioned, and placed back on the website. I promise you we will get to all of your questions. If you did not put in your first and last name when you logged in, could you drop your first and last name and your email into the chat feature below, and then I will make sure to answer your question via email. So please don't worry about that. And this can also go longer. It doesn't have to end it.
The other part of it is my job is to repeat myself. So if you think you heard an answer, that's fine. Go ahead and ask me again. And or if you didn't hear an answer, ask me. Don't mind at all.
But we'll catch up. I think we can catch up here and get everybody's questions answered. So
let me answer the scholarship questions, because there's a couple of them all in a row. So for the scholarships, with regard to students that are planning on deferring for a year, you are only eligible to be considered for a scholarship once you have accepted coming to Western. So we will send out award letters prior to people accepting at Western, but you are only eligible for that money once you have said, yes, I'm coming to Western this year. All scholarships are awarded for the following academic year. So anything that is awarded out of the applications that come in within the next couple of days, and the ones that had come in by the previous due date, Those will be for the 2020-2021 academic year, and they do not carry over if you're deferring for a year, unfortunately. There is another question about scholarships. Are all of Huxley scholarships need-based? This is from Pilar. They are not. The access scholarships that we were talking about that are available to first year and transfer students they do consider need as one of the criteria, but it is not the only criteria that is considered. And when you receive the email with the invitation to apply to this scholarship, once we've reopened it, it will give you the criteria in those. As far as scholarships, once you have been enrolled at Western and you're eligible for them next year, in the 2021-2022 academic year, those scholarships have lots of different criteria. Some of them do not consider need at all. They're based on other things. And then another one from Abigail with regard to scholarships. Are you automatically considered for scholarships once you're accepted? No. I wish that were the case, but because there's so much criteria that we need to find out outside of just your Western application, you will need to fill out that application that we will be sending you the invitation to for the access scholarships. And then every year we send out notifications to all of our currently enrolled Huxley majors, Huxley pre-majors. We post posters all over the Environmental Studies Center saying, hey, our enrolled student scholarship applications are open and available. They're open for about 2 months. And then sometimes only one. That was a weird year. And because of we have like 20 scholarships. So they all have their own criteria. So we can't just automatically consider you for all the scholarships, but one of our applications includes about 17 of those scholarships inside of it. And so as long as you run through the entire Canvas page and fill out everything that you're eligible for, it's just one big application for those 17 scholarships.
Okay, thanks. I'm gonna try to get us caught up here.
Yep.
And I see a few questions that link together. So as first year student in environmental policy, how soon will we start taking classes directly related to our major? So the answer to for everybody there is your freshman year, you could take Environmental Science 101, and there are other kind of entry-level classes. I think it's a good idea to your first year to take a few classes in your field, no matter what you're thinking of, to see if it's going to be right for you. So yeah, you'll have an opportunity to do that. Carly asks if I'm a Fairhaven student. That's another college for everybody, so you know. Should you apply to Huxley also in order to take classes? If you're a major, to be honest, for the 300 and 400 level, it's more likely that you'll get in those classes if you're a major. Same's true with the GIS classes. But there's a lot of classes that Fairhaven students take that especially on the environmental study side, and they're not majors. More difficult is you have to meet the prereqs. And if you meet the prereqs, then you can get in them. And if you're a Fairhaven student, you'd also have to think about that. Okay. I'm almost caught up, Abigail. Okay, scholarships, that's done. Okay, this question. What are ways, from Tony, what are ways Huxley works with local governments, the city of Bellingham and the county? So we do that a lot of different ways. First of all, there's classes where the faculty will put together projects, either for individual students or for teams, to work on those projects for the client. And in this case, it could be local government, it could be an NGO, it could be the state, all these different things. It's really common in the environmental science, in the planning program that faculty do that, but the toxicology classes in environmental science do it too. So that's one way you do that. You engage it through your faculty in classes. But the other real common way is students go out and do internships and practicums, right? And they work with all sorts of different organizations in and around Whatcom County, Skagit County, in in getting connected in that way. And you know what? Those internships oftentimes turn out to be jobs. Okay. No, you're not required to declare to be a pre-major. Yes, you can apply to Huxley if you defer a year, but I don't know if there's a advantage. I think just staying in contact with Kathy is the best way to do that. Doesn't matter if you apply or not. Are there physical copies of the Planet magazine? There are. We distribute them on campus for free every quarter. We have physical copies from winter quarter, and that's the 50th anniversary edition. But because we're not on campus for the spring, that is going to be an online version, unfortunately. Okay. Where can I find the Huxley College Student Listserv and have that have the additional scholarships? Can you answer that one, Ingrid? How do they get on the listserv? Is that pre-majors too, or what?
They could send an email to the Huxley at wwu.edu and request that they be added to the listserv.
Okay, great. Almost done. We have a less of a relationship with the North Cascades Institute than we used to. We used to have a grad program. We don't have one anymore, but we still have students who do internships with North Cascades Institute. Okay. Let's see, GPA requirements is 2.0 to get into Huxley, but is competitive to get in, and should we get a higher GPA? The answer is get a higher GPA. Kathy, would you agree?
I agree. About the only thing you can say good about GPAs is the higher the better. We do take into consideration other things like the number of credits you have. What happened if you had a poor quarter, 9 times out of 10, there was something else going on, or you took too many difficult classes. So certainly we can work with you to help you get into the major you want. But certainly a better GPA is always good.
John asks, is it hard to get a job outside of Washington? And I say the answer to that is you have more opportunity if you look beyond Washington for jobs. It's the student that tries to stay close to Bellingham that is more limited. And everybody loves Bellingham, right? And wants to stay here. But you got to remember, we have 1,000 students here and 200 some graduating every year, and they're all competing to stay in Bellingham for that limited pool of jobs. So if you're willing to cast your net broader, and I wouldn't just say across the country, but I'd say even internationally, that's where you will see lots of expanded opportunities. Katrina asks, what's the connection to the Recreation Management and Leadership BA program? That program, and that's my background actually, is in a different college, but we have a lot of faculty and student connections back and forth, especially with our environmental ed program. Students in that program take environmental ed classes. Environmental ed students take their classes over there. Our faculty lecture back and forth in each other's classes. We know each other. So it's a pretty fluid kind of connection. And since Katrina brought that up, that's also true with other programs on campus. Biology, business management, College of Education, where we have those sorts of relationships with other degree programs on campus. Okay, so if we missed anybody, let's look for waved hands or
a typed in question.
Typed in questions, yeah.
I have one thing to add to the last answer, and that is the recreation program in the College of Humanities, Social Sciences does require a minor, and many of the recreation majors will pick minors in Huxley, especially the environmental education minor.
Sorry.
Feel free to unmute your mic. Looks like lots of thank yous.
Yeah. We are very glad that you guys all came and joined us today. And if you do have any other questions about scholarships or admissions, anything about campus, please just send an email to huxley@wwu.edu and we will get your questions answered for you. We are always here for you. We're just happy to help.
And I'll stay on if people